Andretti IndyCar itself has 5 wins. The team has 4 drivers in this year's race. Welcome, the one and only Mario Andretti. Thank you for joining us.
How are you
Thank
doing,
you,
sir?
guys. Man, I've been listening to you the last few minutes. Somebody's changing oil. Somebody's changing tires.
Oh, when we were off the
You
air.
guys are really on it.
We were discussing before the show started what work on a car we can do ourselves, and we all topped out at changing tires. that was the ceiling of it.
Well, thank you for joining us. You've been here a long time. You've raced around the world. Can you tell us just big picture what makes the Indy 500 so special?
Tradition, tradition, tradition. I've been here over 100 years. How many other sports can really make that claim? So, again, I mean, they say rightfully so, this is the greatest spectacle in racing, and we're proud to be part of it. Trust me. I mean, I have guests from abroad. I have, a teammate that helped me win the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1995 in class. And he's here. It was a dream of his life, a Frenchman. He can't believe what he's seen. I mean, this is just, 2 days before the actual event. So, it's everyone that comes here is impressed, of course. I remember actually Fernando Alonso, who drove for my son a couple of years ago. He said, "I cannot believe the crowd like this." And Formula One is drawing crowds,
Yes.
but this supersedes everything.
So we're going to talk to you a lot about the race and, the implications of this Indy 500. I want to go further back, if I may, for a moment, because I don't know. I think people hear Mario Andretti and they think, oh, he's the greatest racer of all time, which is correct, and that's across different disciplines. What I don't know if people know is, your path to not only racing, but to America. And do you, if people don't know, born in, was it called Montana?
Montana. Yes.
Montana, post-World War II, the land gets taken. You guys live in tough circumstances, fair to say, for your...
You're in a refugee camp for 8 years
right.
after the war, yeah.
And then you come to America, and within 5-8 years of you coming to the U.S., you're already establishing yourself as one of the greatest race car drivers in the world. Now, as an older gentleman, do you ever look back and say, I lived about the most amazing, richest life imaginable en route to this?
Well, I can just sum it up by saying that out of a terrible negative, a lot of positive came from that because coming to America legally. The impossible dream came true for me. Twin brother Aldo, who's no longer with us, he and I just gravitated to the sport when we were just barely teenagers, still in Italy. And from there on, for us, there was no plan B because Italy was very prominent in Formula One when it became official in 1950. So anyway, but at the time, I said, I want to be a world champion. And okay. But it's coming to America that gave me every opportunity that I was hoping and praying for.
And your father didn't want you to do it.
No, actually, Aldo and I, because we were underage, we had to race without him knowing the first season. He found out when Aldo got hurt at the very last race of the season. So anyway, but then he became the biggest fan. He thought that I should be winning every race,
It's an amazing story. It really is an amazing story.
Absolutely. We see the beautiful Indy 500 ring on your right hand. 1969 when you won the race.
This is 1982.
That's 82. Okay.
That's the chance.
81.
From the series.
1981.
From the series, right. So you won the 569, and that was your only one. You said if it had been the Indy 400, I'd have won 6 of them. So what makes this race at 500 miles so hard to win?
The length, possibly 500 miles. And actually, when the rules were different, now, the chance of the cars to finish the race are best ever. Unless you make mistakes here, the best chances are like 98, 99%. Up until the 90s, I mean, your chances of finishing here were like 40% or
Wow.
30%. And so anyway, that's what I was up to. The thing that I look back is I'm very proud that I won. I mean, I led more laps here than some of the 4-time winners. So
Yeah.
at least they knew I was here.
We're all picking racers and teams to really support. How do you feel about your team for Sunday?
It's looking pretty good, actually. Obviously, if you look at the charts on speed, but I was just in the pits with my grandson, Marco, in number 98, and that was the calmest the whole, carb day has gone since I've been here with them. And he's quite happy with the car. They were very conservative with the engine power because he only gets one engine because he's on a one-off for the month, and so they're being conservative on the power. But the car feels good, so he's starting way back and needs the car to feel good. But I think it's going to be okay.
You obviously won series championships, in multiple divisions, if I can call it that. 4 Indy car championships. You won in Formula One. You won the Daytona 500. We talked. Forget who. One of the analysts we were talking about, Hinchcliffe, yesterday talked about how some drivers race the Indy 500 to make sure they finish, they don't crash, they get the points, and some drivers, it's more the approach of, I'm just going to win it, or I'm trying to win it, and if I wreck, I wreck. How, when you're watching the race, can you tell who's going for it and who's trying to be conservative? And can you win this race trying to be conservative?
Well, you can win this race by trying to be conservative. Probably not anymore, because pretty much everyone, all the usual suspects are out there still. So to be honest with you, sometimes to finish second at any race is really a good day, except here.
Oh, that's interesting.
Here you just gotta win it because they don't have a podium here. They have only the winner that comes up here, and the winner's the only one that's being mentioned. I won 4 national championships, and everybody said, "Oh, Mario, the '69 Indianapolis 500." So, in '65, I was Rookie of the Year, and I was national champion in my rookie year. And when I was in Johnny Carson, they never mentioned about national championship. They said, Mario Andretti, Rookie of the Year in Indianapolis. Rookie of the Year in Indianapolis superseded my championship.
Yeah.
That told me volumes about what this place means.
So you mentioned your grandson Marco earlier. He's had a second place finish, a third place finish here. What advice will you give him to get over that hump and win it Sunday?
Flat out, man. Can't hold back, especially where he's starting. And he knows what he has to do. He just, obviously there's going to be some strategy. You got to play some strategy, and, you got to have plan A, B, C. Play it properly. And, I love those guys. But anyway, you got to play it. You got to be ready to just execute, one of the plans, and hope that it goes. But he's got a lot of cars to pass.
How different is it? The cars are so much different. The steering wheels, everything are so much different. How much different is it for him to drive these Indy cars than the ones you drove?
Well, to be honest with you, from a driver's standpoint, once you're in it, you're up to speed on everything. It's not that big a deal. Even with me, I stay up to date. So I've come through everything. As far as the decades of what we have achieved. Technology-wise and everything else. But that's something that it's just another tool. You use to your best advantage. But it's not a big deal. It's just like whatever is there at your disposal, make the best of it.
Jamie Little. Jamie, welcome. Thank you for being here. You were at Carb Day all day. What did you learn? My guy, Joseph Newgarden, fastest time around the track, just reminding everyone. What was your biggest takeaway from Carb Day?
Yeah, so good to be here with you guys. So happy to see you all here. And basically, you just nailed it. Joseph Newgarden is fast.
Let's
Alert
go.
the presses. After the penalty, he's still fast. So Can he do it? Can he make it 3 in a row? That is what everybody wants to know. It's going to be interesting, though. He has to come from the back of the field. That's not an easy feat, but it's the Indianapolis 500. You can win from anywhere.
And it would, no one's won 3 in a row. No one's won from this far back. That it does give him an opportunity for a special type of immortality if he is the first to win from the last row while being the first to three-peat. He's in the last row because of these violations. The attenuator, I'm not going to pretend that I totally understand what he did wrong. And from your interview with Roger Penske, it almost seemed like Roger Penske wasn't entirely sure what he did wrong. I thought you did a great job with that. If people didn't see it, what was your biggest takeaway from it and how Team Penske is dealing with this?
Well, first off, Roger Penske is one of the most well-respected, well-regarded men in this place. He owns the series. He bought this speedway because he wants to carry on the legacy and how special. He's made it better than it's ever been. And yes, they were busted. 2 of their cars were illegal, and they got those penalties. And then I was called in to ask those hard questions. And Roger understands. He does know what happened, but he feels like they should be held at a higher regard because he owns the series. So they're looking at changing some things. But the biggest takeaway was that they let 3 top management people go, main guys that have been there for years and years, and he totally owned it. That's what I really took from this. And he doesn't want to have that black eye. He is a man with integrity, and this hurt him. This really got to his core. And to your point, I mean, what's the best thing that can happen? They can go out and win with all the odds stacked against them, and maybe that black eye for some.
Yep.
Yeah, he was very forthcoming, in that interview. He didn't run from it. And the fact that he let some of those guys go, do you feel like he, and also Will Power and Newgarden, are they a bit embarrassed, if that's the right word, by this too?
I would say yes. This isn't the first time we've seen Joseph Newgarden get in trouble, his team get in trouble for an infraction. Last year it happened as well. He was at this very race with a guy who wasn't his normal strategist because his guy was kicked out for the time being. He still won the race. So for these guys, I think it's a distraction that they don't want in the month of May. He has to face all the media. They have to talk to all of us. And the last thing they want to do is answer questions about something that was illegal on their car that they had nothing to do with. They just want to strap in and talk about going fast.
So can you tell me I understand, like, there's executives that were penalized who are no longer with the team, and the strategists gone, so someone came up. We always talk about when we're, like, previewing football, oh, this team lost a coordinator. They're not going to be the same team.
Right.
This team, it's going to be so losing the strategist and having someone come out, are we going to see the departures show themselves during the race, or their strategy, or I don't know, does that make sense?
That's a great question. And yes, and I think in other sports that probably would be the take, but Penske stacks them deep. They are so deep, and like these guys that are moving up into the strategist call, that's what we're calling them, they're actually engineers. These guys are used to dealing with these drivers and the teams. What makes it different for them is they're the person on the radio talking to their drivers. And there could be some hesitation or getting used to in the race for sure, maybe even a little confusion. But the guys at Penske, by the way, they're located in North Carolina. They work under the same doors, everything as NASCAR. They know what they're doing. So if any team is going to get in trouble and be able to overcome on this weekend, it's Penske.
I'm going to cross-sport analogize again, which is, we talk about this a lot in basketball more than any other sport. A little in football. I'll use Lamar maybe as an example. Sometimes being so great in the regular season can end up being used against you in discussions if you don't then deliver in the postseason. When I look at Alex Palou, he's won 3 of the last 4 series championships. This year he has gone first, second, first, which means he has been the dominant driver overall since really he's come onto the circuit, which almost makes his lack of an Indy 500 glaring in a way that feels unfair, but it's kind of how it works. Do you think he feels that way, and how much? I know everyone's under pressure. I know everyone wants to win.
Yeah.
Do you think he's under a special type of pressure due to his own excellence elsewhere?
100%. How do you say that your career was 100% a success if you didn't win the Indy 500? That's a fact. That's what the drivers will tell you. In fact, Alex Palou said it earlier this week, and I thought that was surprising because I talked to him in preseason media, and he's like, it's not a huge deal if I don't win the 500. Like, I'm a 3-time champion. But then the other day, it's like, But wait a minute. If I don't win here, I don't know if I can say I'm fully a success. And that is exactly what this race means. Many people, many drivers out there will tell you winning this race is more important to their career and life than winning a championship.
Now, another guy, Kyle Larson, going to try to do something special, racing here and then going and racing in Charlotte in NASCAR. Do you think it's just about him completing both races, or does he and even other people think he really has a shot to be a factor and maybe win this race?
Kyle Larson is arguably the best we've seen, and he's a freak of nature. Many will know that. The guy, nothing gets to him. Like, he's not scared of anything. He's not here just to run around and say, I completed 1,100 miles. He is here to show him up, to say, I am the best, and I want to win this championship. I want to win the Indianapolis 500. And by the way, and then I'm going to fly, I'm going to jump in my helicopter, and then I'm going to jump on the plane, then I'm going to jump in and do 600 miles in my stock car. He didn't get a chance last year. I was here doing the double with him. Race morning, the weather came in. He ran this race. I had to run back and cover his pit with his backup driver. Kyle Larson shows up on pit road, and it started raining. The same storm from here, gone to Charlotte, never even got in his race car. It was such a bummer. Broke his heart. Took him a couple weeks to get over that one.
Takuma Sato, who two-time Indy winner, 2017-2020. You had second fastest time today in Carb Day. How did Carb Day go for you?
So I think it went well. In terms of the speed, yeah, as you can see, there is a big toe. So it's nothing to do with your pure speed by yourself. But that suggested that you can run in the pack or run, get closer to the other car, which is the suggestion of the cars getting closer to the balance you want to. So we were a long way off, actually, before the qualify. And our race setup was a lot of work needs to be done. But today, I would happily say we were getting very close to what we wanted. So it was a good day.
So your hat says it, no attack, no chance. Yes. A lot of Wildes was saying during the break to you, your name keeps coming up when we ask people about who they're most excited to watch, seemingly because people really admire your approach, your fearlessness, your style. If you can tell us about the motto and tell us about your mindset heading into your attempt to get a third.
Yeah, I think this no attack, no chance often to be easily misunderstood. We are not meant to be cross-eyed and go for it. It's completely opposite. Basically, no attack, no chance. Basically, you creating the chances by yourself. In other words, I think there is some luck, fortunate, and the people coming and have everybody the same condition. However, the luck coming not necessarily when you really need it or where you really need it. So you have to keep challenging it in order to take the chance. That's the no attack, no chance motto. So the fans I really appreciate, particularly on the turn 1 and turn 2 fans, over the course of the years and 10 years, when I challenged Dario for winning for the year 2012, they witnessed that my challenge. Now the result was I failed, but they really appreciate it, and since then I got a huge support. So it took 5-6 years to pull the actual win, but I'm really proud to be part of this organization, particularly when you have a great team. The boys working so hard, like today too. So I'm very, very proud of them.
You're 48 years old. You don't look it at all, but you're 48. You'd be the oldest winner here, passing Al Unser. How have you stayed at the highest level for so long?
I don't know, but I simply love this race. I simply love the challenge. Well, there is some fears, but we normally, when you jump in the car, we leave the fear behind because we just go so fast, and a lot of pumping adrenaline just make me smile. So obviously, our mentor Helio Castroneves, winning that fashion in 4 times just only a few years ago. So we were just keeping, let's say, old group still energized, and lots of new generation, new drivers. It's incredible to see there's a mixture in the field. I think that's the name of the sport, so we're really happy with that.
You're starting second on the pole on Sunday. How does that change your strategy, starting towards the top versus starting in the middle? And if I don't know, because for me, and maybe I am misinterpreting it, of no attack, no chance, you're already in second as soon as it starts.
Right. I think the most important thing is obviously to get the right balance for the last 30 laps. which is last stint. Now, in order to get that, you need to really leading the pack, but also you need to be experienced for the single kato, double kato, triple kato. You really need to understand what's happening. Where we starting from front low, it's kind of bonus. You can naturally get that kind of feeling very early on the stage of the race, so you can tune every pit stop. So obviously it's a long race. I'm sure I'll be shuffled back into P20 at some point in a by sequence of the pit stop. But once you have a confidence that you can run in the front, I think that is the time. Essentially the last 10 laps is that matter. But I'm really genuinely, deeply recognition and appreciation was all the boys who had to build my car in 2 weeks' time, because I had a huge moment on open test. Basically, I wrecked the car 100%. Yeah. So they had to order the new top, usually taking 2 months. But my boys did it in 2 weeks. That's an incredible work. So obviously, I'm very proud of them. Very happy for them to put in my car on the front row, and then Honda and HRC. What a strong comeback. So I'm really pumped up.
My dad was a fireman for 40 years, and fireman's the type of profession where it's a family business typically. When I was growing up, a lot of his friends just assumed I would go on and be a fireman. I think they were probably disappointed at some point that I didn't. I look at race car driving very similar. There's a lot of junior, senior, uncle, brother. Your son, is it Rentaro? Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, he's a race car driver now.
He is now.
You've obviously had massive success. You love the sport. Did you always want him to do it? And what is the feeling as a father watching a son race?
Here's the thing. It's kind of mixture feeling. On one side, I'm really happy that he actually enjoy what I love, so we can share a lot of stuff. The other side is I know how hard this sport is. A lot of talented driver couldn't make it away because it's such a limited amount of seat, and you have to be right place on the right time. And obviously, financially, you really need to be in a wealthy situation, otherwise you can't make it. So therefore, my case was my parent had absolutely no idea whatsoever for the racing. So I really wanted to start racing when I was a kid, but I couldn't. So all I had was basically grab my metal bike with the two wheels, which is a bicycle. And I was just mentally racing for it. But one day, I was just dreaming about becoming the race car driver. Now, when I was age of 20, I had opportunity. I went to the Honda Racing School, which has got age restriction, it has to be under 20. But I went there and I got scholarship. That's how I started my career. So I always said to my son too, believe it or not, there is a lot of talented driver, a lot of passion, a lot of determination. If you really want to, you have to beat all of that, and you have to prove of that. In order to do that, you need to get to the school. And he went to the race school, and he got the scholarship.
With us right now, alongside Chris Broussard and Nick Wright, is Kyle Kirkwood. Kyle, I tried to start talking to you during the break, and I was like, you know what, I got to save it for the show. Yep. So now I'll ask the real question. What were you trying to accomplish in Carb Day? Were you just trying to go fast? What were you working on? Were you happy with everything?
Well, of course we're trying to go fast, right? That's the main thing that we want to check off our list. But it's in some ways a sanity check for us because it's such a long month, and a lot of it gets spent on quali trims, and then the whole car comes apart. These cars are pretty much airplanes when you're doing 240 miles an hour, right? So you want to just kind of check everything off the list. And when the car comes apart, then back together, not everything is as precise as maybe it was before. Or maybe it's even better. You never really know in those situations. So today is really just making sure you hit all your numbers. We have sensors all over the car to give us numbers back that the engineers will look at on those stands. And we learn a lot off of those. And it's really important that we hit all those before race day.
All right, I've been wanting to ask this question all week. And I have been afraid to.
Uh-oh.
Because
oh boy.
I wanted to kind of earn my Indy bona fides. And I don't want people to think I was, a neophyte to this or whatever it is. But now we've been here for a few days, talked to a dozen people, and I just feel, at ease sitting next to you.
Cool.
So here's the question. Is it scary? Is it, and at any point, and if the answer is no, it's totally fine. But you're the third person who said it's an airplane. You've talked about going 230, 240. Is it ever scary?
No. Okay. If I'm being honest, no.
Yeah.
It scares me more watching the cars from the outside and watching other people go around than it is myself. It feels very, very safe. Like you're in your own little cocoon. in our cars, and they're extremely safe cars, right? Of course, they're doing 240 miles an hour. Bad things can happen, but you have enough confidence in your ability and in the group that you have around you to give you a safe performing car. And you trust your instincts, and I've been in some big crashes. People have seen them. And, I walked away from them. So in ways it almost gives me more confidence. I know looking back 2 years ago, a pretty famous moment where a tire went over the stands and I flipped upside down and slid on my head for a while. All I wanted to do was just flip the car back over and get back in it. So in ways, we're wired to not get scared of situations like that, right? It's part of our nature. It's part of how we've grown up. I've done this since I was 5 years old. So no matter what, we're pushing out there and we're not scared of any moment.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Have accidents like that, not be scared. But look, you're starting 23rd. Guys have won it from that position and further back a little bit. So what's your mentality when you know you're starting in the back third and you have to pass all these guys to win?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It's not ideal. You don't want to be starting at the back of this field. It puts you in a position to be more prone to incidents. But at the same time, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I've been in this position in the past couple of years, and we've also given ourselves opportunities to win the race. I look back at last year, I made some mistakes, and I ended up all the way at the back of the field. And next thing you know, I'm racing for the lead coming into the last stint. And that's what's great about this race. A lot of other races that we go to, it's very hard to recover from something. But this is an endurance race in itself. And you have to do everything perfect, but you can also bounce back if you do the right things. So it's interesting from that standpoint. What's really interesting is the back 10 of the race, that were at least the starting grid. That last 10 is a powerhouse. So you can expect a lot of cars to come through.
That's interesting. So has your strategy changed because Newgarden is back there versus it would be some, I guess less. You wouldn't have a champion starting so far back normally.
It doesn't change our strategy, right?
Gotcha.
All we're looking at doing is maximizing what we have. Of course, our goal is to stay ahead of them. That will be kind of an indicator. Are we good enough to go out here and win this race? And if it's them passing us early on and walking away from us and moving through the field, then potentially we need to start working on the car and start getting it better as the race goes on, or I need to start doing things better. So it's almost nice in some ways that they're back there.
Can I stop you?
Yeah.
Does better mean more aggressive? What does better mean?
Better means it's a combination of many things, right? It's how your racecraft is, how you're getting by cars, how your following gaps are, how you're doing at feel, how you're doing at strategy, how your just overall pace is, and better as a whole is how many cars are you moving ahead of if you're that far back.
So we maybe should have gotten to this earlier. There's been 5 races this year. Only 2 people have won one. Pillow, who's won 4 of them, and you, who won, the 3rd race of the year, right?
I believe so. It was Long Beach.
Third race of the year. Does that give you an added boost of confidence going into this, or because it's a road track, or was that a road track or the?
It was a street course.
Street course. Yeah. It's so different, and it's not Indy. Is it apples to oranges?
It's completely different here, if I'm being honest. You have to look at every event. You only focus on one event that's in front of you, right? And even after we won the one race that we had, you have to focus on the next event. You forget about what your failures are, what your wins are, and you just move on from there. And this is a completely different event in its own. This is one that we work all year long on, and it's very, very car dependent. So fortunately, we've shown up here with a really good package. In some ways, yes, it does give me a little bit of confidence, because I know that I can beat every single car that's out there if the conditions are right. But in some ways, you have to take it with a grain of salt, right? And really just focus on what you have in that moment and forget about all the other noise around you.
This is your 4th 500, Indy 500. So how does that experience change the way you approach it versus when you were a rookie and things like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. The focus is a lot more on perfection, and maybe taking a step back and making sure you do all the simple things right. Every other race that we go through or go to on the calendar, it's pushing all out every single moment that you're on the track to maximize and get up front. Here is a little bit different. You gotta maximize every single moment that you're on track, but in a calculated way that you're not taking risks. You're positioning yourself in the right manner to make passes happen. And sometimes slow is fast at this race, which sounds weird, right? Like maybe that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, you're pushing as much as you can, but not pushing over the limit.
Right.
We're watching the NBA playoffs at the same time. We're very familiar with like the flow of the game, that not every minute is
Going
coached
all out.
or played the same. End of quarters, start of the fourth quarter, end of the half. Do you segment the 200
do.
laps? How do you do it?
That's a great question. Yeah. So the beginning of the race, you're likely to see people kind of laying back a little bit, saving fuel, kind of setting up their strategy towards the end of the race, or setting them up for success at the end. And as you get further through the stints and you see stop 4 or 5 or maybe even 6, you see people start getting a little bit more aggressive. There might not take as much fuel. You might see pit stops being a little bit quicker. You might see them pulling wing out to reduce drag on the car, which makes the car a lot worse to drive for us, but it ultimately makes it faster. And that's what you're going to expect from guys later on in the race. Those last couple stops, that's where it's everybody knows it's the last lap of the race that you need a lead, and you're going to be very aggressive when it comes down to that last stint.
This is, Brew just said it, your 4th Indy 500. You're lined up right next to a guy who's won 4 Indy 500s in LAO. We had him on earlier. He seems just utterly delightful as a guy, like from afar.
He is.
It seemed authentic. He seemed like and he's a living legend. I mean, he's won this race as much as anybody. I'm just curious, like when you look at him and when you're around him, what the type of guy that he is, and for you, is there as an excellent but relatively speaking young driver, like cool moments of, man, I'm trying to beat this guy, and he's right. He's who he is.
Yeah, you're completely right. The guys that I'm starting around, a lot of them are legends, and Elio is definitely one of them. I had the privilege of being teammates with him on a sister team, at least a couple of years back. And, if you're still behind him and you're moving through the field, that you're doing something right. He's a legend around this place. He knows probably more than anybody else that's in this field. And I hope that we can stick to him or stay ahead of him. That's the goal.
You've obviously had success, but how would winning the Indy 500 change your life?
It would change my life drastically, right? I think this race is bigger than the championship as a whole. It's definitely bigger than the races that I've won currently. But yeah, I mean, 350,000 people here on their feet watching this race, and it's a bigger magnitude than anything else that I can think of in this world. So it puts your name much higher up than you could ever expect, just getting one win here.
I'll be honest with you.
You're going to do it again.
I'm a Newgarden guy. Don't get me wrong.
Every person he's interviewed. Go
I'm
ahead.
just saying.
Tell me why.
Between the strategy, it is interesting. Like, all jokes aside, it's a little bit when we're talking to Ilio. You got to want to win it. I know everybody wants to, but you have to be able to lay it all out.
Can I piggyback that? Do some people run this race and halfway through it they're like, okay, I want to get a top 10. I want to get does anyone run this race safe?
I don't.
I'm not asking if you do. I know you don't.
I can't speak for other people, but maybe. I'm certainly not one of those guys. I leave it all on the line. You don't remember who finished second? Oh, I know who finished second last year, but most people don't know who finished second last year, right? And in 5 years down the road, you definitely won't know. So you got to win this place, or you got to win around this place to make
You also had an audible reaction when he said he's a Newgarden guy. Now, in his defense, whoever won the most recent championship and everything, that's his team. So it's
a savvy strategy.
That's why. That's why.
Joseph, is it? Can I call it a rivalry? Is it a friendly, like the? I know you have a good quote about if Newgarden should view you as a threat. Like, I'm just curious because he is the 2-time defending champ. He is in a lot of ways currently one of the faces of the sport.
I have no rivalry with Joseph. I think he's an amazing driver. I think he's an amazing person. I think a lot of people love to hate him, especially fans here in Indianapolis for recent occurrences. But, he wants it more. He wants it just as much as anybody else out there, and he's going to do everything in his power to do so. He's a hard driver to beat, and I respect him to the maximum. So, no, I think he's a wonderful person. I'm not going to say anything negative because I have nothing negative to say about him.